Thank you. You mentioned something about faith, and
Yeah.
I want to bring in some voices from the community. Jeff Coleman, who is the host of Morning Light on Lighthouse TV, he asked this question. This is what he says: political candidates aren't always clear about their faith.
Sure.
And because of that, people tend to make up what they want. How do you define your faith, and what do you believe?
Well, I appreciate that question. So I'm a devout, practicing, church-going Christian. And I say that. I was actually baptized for the first time in 2019, so that wasn't always true. And I was raised by my mamaw, and one of the things that I've always felt a certain affinity for the Southern black story in the United States of America, because the story of my family is that my family, obviously white, came from Appalachia and moved into the Midwest for good jobs in the steel mill. That's what brought my family out of the deep poverty of Appalachia. And I know that's a similar story for a lot of folks who grew up in the Delta, who grew up in the Deep South, who moved into Chicago, moved into Michigan, moved into Pennsylvania, because this was the land of opportunity. That's where, even if you didn't go to college, you had an opportunity to raise a family. Now, I was raised by that grandmother, because my mom struggled with opioid addiction for a big chunk of my life, and she was a woman of very profound Christian faith. She didn't graduate from high school, but she thought more about what the Bible required of her than any person that I've ever met in my life. And she was, in some ways, a woman of many contrasts. She loved the Lord. She also loved the F word. I mean, she had a foul mouth on her, and I love Mamaw, but that's okay. But I remember when I went to, because I left high school, I served 4 years in the United States Marine Corps, and then by around the time that I got out of the Marines and was starting college at Ohio State, don't hold it against me, I know you're a Minnesota guy, I started to think that I knew more than Mamaw did. And I started to think that to be educated and to be knowledgeable in the ways of the world meant that I had to discard the Christian faith that Mamaw had raised me in. And I think that's a story for a lot of kids, a lot of adolescents. They start to think that they know a little bit, and then they start to think that they know a lot. And as I became a more mature young man, and I've got my beautiful wife Usha here with me today, and we. And I was dating her, I fell in love with her, I knew that I wanted to marry this beautiful young girl, and I wanted to have a family with her, and you start thinking about the big questions about what do you want to be as a father, what do you want to be as a husband, what is required of me to be a good man, and I kept coming back to the answers were found in the gospel of Jesus Christ, and so that led me back to my faith. And I got baptized for the first time, like I said, in 2019, and we're actually flying to New York tomorrow morning, or actually we're flying to New York tonight, but we got our 3 little kids who are going to be there, and we're looking for a church we can go to tomorrow morning in New York. It's a little bit troublesome to bring our kids to church because we've got about 40 Secret Service agents who come with us, so it takes a little bit of prior planning, but I think that, one of the critical, just if I could say one more thing on that, Pastor, one of the critical to me takeaways of the Christian faith is, whether big or small, whether rich or poor, Christian politics should be about the common good. Whether you're a Bible-believing Christian or not, you should pursue the kind of society where people can live a good life, where they can raise their children with good values, where if they work hard, they can earn enough to provide for a family. And I think fundamentally that is how I see my politics, as motivated